אני ממש שמח להזמין אותך, אדוני השגריר, לשאת את דבריך. בבקשה.
Good afternoon. Mohammed, يا صديقي, شكرا كثير. ותודה רבה. ברשותכם אני אנאם באנגלית. But thank you so much, Mohammed, for the extraordinarily kind introduction. You have been a great friend to me personally and to our embassy and to our shared goals of helping build a shared society for Jews and Arabs in Israel. Yaniv Sagi, Riyad Kabha of Givעת Chaviva, the conference co-chairs, Ambassador Gabriela Shalev, Bashar Assad, Abu Vilan, other honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. It really is a great honor to come and join you to deliver this keynote at the Givעת Chaviva conference on developing a shared society in Israel. Congratulations to everybody on convening this important conference. Thanks to all of you who have participated through contributing to the discussions earlier in the day. And I hope that today's sessions and this wrap-up session will lead to some activities, some partnerships, some concrete policy recommendations that will further the development of a shared society in Israel. The United States has a long history of partnership with Givעת Chaviva through our embassy in Tel Aviv, the USAID Conflict Management and Mitigation Program, and the Middle East Partnership Initiative. We have been very proud to support Givעת Chaviva in its work for innovative educational and capacity building initiatives, most recently with a significant grant to do media analysis trainings to help Jewish and Arab Israeli students, educators, and journalists sharpen their critical thinking skills about what appears in the media. For more than a decade, Givעת Chaviva has been an innovative and pioneering partner of ours in its work to build understanding between Arabs and Jews, to promote equality in Israeli society, and to help lay the groundwork for public support for a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So it's a great honor to make I'm sorry to say, my first visit to Givעת Chaviva. It's taken too long, but it will not be my last. As great allies, the United States and Israel share knowledge and best practices across a range of topics that are critically important to both of our countries. Today, as you, leaders from across Israel, representing government, civil society, academia, and the media, and all of Israel's communities, gather to share ideas on pluralism in Israel, I'd like to offer some thoughts on what a shared society means from an American perspective. So how better to introduce the American idea of a shared society than to echo the words of one of our great leaders. To borrow President Abraham Lincoln's words, a shared society could be described as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But in fact, more than just a government, a society of the people, by the people, and for the people. A society in which all individuals, groups can be equally contributing participants, free to express their differences, and to integrate comfortably into the broader population. A shared society is not something that a leader can simply decree or politicians can legislate. It can only result from a pattern of actions and values that demonstrate a strong commitment by the citizens to the democracy and the embrace of diversity. It depends on the will and the cooperation of civil society, government, as I say, ordinary citizens working every day together, the small actions every day that reinforce that pattern of those values. Now, before we start to think about the shared society as some sort of utopian endpoint, I want to make one thing clear. Shared society isn't a title that can be won and then put on a shelf and said, Khalas, we've achieved it. It isn't a static resting point that can be reached and then sof pasuk, time to rest. Rather, the nature of pluralism is continual and ongoing and needs daily, weekly, monthly, yearly reinforcement. It's a living practice in which all citizens and constituent groups have access to and participate in decision-making processes, enjoy the freedom to be themselves and to express themselves, the freedom to interact safely and comfortably with public institutions and with the broader society. Now, the idea of a shared society is really at the core of what it means to be a functioning and inclusive democracy. If we're going to talk about Lincoln's idea of government and society of the people, by the people, and for the people, then it's important that that society, that government, belong to all the people. Abraham Lincoln knew this well. While he was president, contention over the boundaries of inclusion sparked a civil war that threatened to tear the United States apart, our bloodiest war by a long margin. With great wisdom, President Lincoln expanded the boundaries of inclusion and held the nation together. And from that time on, inclusion and pluralism have been at the core of American values, and we've had a steady ethic of trying to expand the inclusion in each successive generation. Not that we fully succeeded. We're still trying to perfect our own union. But our history has taught us that achieving a more inclusive society and building a more robust democracy can take time, generations even, but that in order to be healthy, a democracy must constantly be in that mode of striving to embrace shared and equal citizenship for all, constantly expanding that inclusiveness. That's why the United States strongly supports democratic inclusion and equality among our allies all over the world, including, of course, in Israel. We see promoting and safeguarding democracy as a national interest of the United States that helps secure many other interests, including interests that we share with our close ally, Israel. Democracy helps create more secure, stable, and prosperous states where fundamental American values like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and so on have a better chance of being realized. Democratic nations, it's been proven time and time again throughout the last centuries, are more likely to secure peace, to deter aggression, to expand open markets, to promote economic development, to protect American citizens, to combat international terrorism and crime, to uphold worker and human rights of their own citizens, to avoid humanitarian crises, and to improve the global environment and protect public health. Israel is a robust democracy, and the United States is working with Israeli partners to promote democratic vitality and inclusiveness, principles at the foundation of the shared values and moral bonds between our two democracies. In partnership with Israeli officials and with civil society organizations, the United States promotes practices that can contribute to the more complete development of a shared society in Israel, the kind of society where tolerance, understanding, and dialogue reign, and where intolerance and hate, whether expressed through price tag attacks or anti-Jewish incitement, are completely out of bounds. So I'd like to share with you a little about our partnership in this area with some success stories of which Americans and Israelis can be proud. The U.S. government uses a variety of development and diplomacy tools to promote acceptance of a shared society in Israel. We get out and meet with diverse groups of Israelis to deepen our own familiarity with all sectors of society. Mohammed mentioned our special effort at outreach into the Arab sector of Israeli society. And we want to help those diverse groups come better acquainted, not just with us, but with each other, just like Giva'at Chaviva does. We work closely with economically disadvantaged groups, such as the Haredi community and the Arab community, to improve their English language skills. English, a special skill that can help pull people out of poverty and into the workforce, and by extension, improve their prospects for integrating into the Israeli and global society and economy. This work is so important to us and to our understanding of our interests that the United States Congress created a special program with funds, a special program to partner and fund organizations who work to build inclusion in various ways. This is the USAID's Conflict Management and Mitigation Program. And the U.S. government, through this program, supports people-to-people reconciliation activities that bring together individuals of different ethnic, religious, and political backgrounds from areas of conflict areas to address the root causes of tension and instability. We may be the largest such CMM program in the world because it is of such a high priority to our Congress and to our citizens that we make that contribution to Israeli society. Since the program's inception in 2004, USAID and the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv have supported 69 CMM grants for Israel, the West Bank, Gaza, and one of our most recent grantees, as I mentioned, was Giv'at Chaviva for the media training project. We're very proud of that. The Israeli Ministry of Education took on another important people-to-people educational initiative by declaring its theme for the current school year as "The Other is Me." This theme is a very fitting way to describe the United States partnership with a variety of local initiatives that enable encounters between Jewish and Arab children and teenagers. These are not one-off meetings. These are sustained programs with recurring encounters and joint activities, not just a dialogue about conflict, but finding a common project and a common purpose around which to build a partnership, where the kids have a chance to get to know each other and learn about each other's way of life while achieving a common goal. We also support training for teachers so that they can make these experiences as meaningful as possible each day in the schools. And the programs that we support are informed by decades of learning about best practices in the field. And these are developed in consultation with the Ministry of Education and are all subject to rigorous evaluation. Working with our many partners, we find tremendous commitment and goodwill in Israeli civil society, organizations, and among educators and public officials who recognize the importance of reaching across communities and building those connections. A quick survey of some of the programs that we support provides some examples of the wide range of populations that we reach. Jewish and Arab 3rd and 4th graders in Tel Aviv and Yafo meet regularly through a partnership with Jaffa's Arab Jewish Community Center. 5th and 6th graders all over northern Israel meet together through the Ya Salam program in partnership with the Abraham Fund initiatives. And 8th graders from Afula and Iksal are visiting each other's communities and learning together in the partnership with the Ein Dor Archaeological Museum. The USAID CMM program also partners with Peace Players International, which uses basketball to bridge divides, to change perceptions, and to develop young leaders. As an ambassador and as a great basketball fan, I'm proud to say that 2 weeks ago, the Jerusalem Peace Players International under-18 girls team, which is a mixed team of Jews and Arabs, won the Israeli National League Championship for the Southern Division on a last-second shot. We're proud of them. And I've even had a chance to play basketball with these kids, and they can play. USAID has also been instrumental in fostering communities of Jewish and Arab parents that have recently launched 2 new bilingual school frameworks in Tel Aviv Jaffa and in Haifa. The 2 preschools that they have established are set to double in size next year. Now, that's the demand for these programs. And that experience plainly shows that development of a shared society moves ahead when motivated civil society actors and obliging public officials working together with motivated citizens create the conditions for learning together and living together. Now finally, in this region, in this country, we can't talk about a vision for a shared society in Israel completely separate from the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the efforts to achieve peace negotiations, which is a peace agreement through negotiations, which, as you're well aware, has been a major priority of President Obama and Secretary of State Kerry over the past year. The United States, as I mentioned, has an extremely close strategic partnership with Israel. And our country's partnership is built on the shared values, democratic ideals, and a strong belief in that opportunity and freedom create more just and more prosperous societies. And we have shared interests on just about every issue that comes across our plate in this region. And as we work with Israelis in building up a cohesive shared society within Israel, we also remind our Israeli friends that the path to lasting, sustainable security and Israel's future as a Jewish and democratic state is through peace and a 2 states for 2 people solutions with their Palestinian neighbors. Now, we remain committed to the goal of a negotiated two-state solution, and frankly, we believe there is no viable, sustainable, alternative for the Palestinian people or for the Israeli people to achieve their national aspirations than by doing the hard work of leading to that outcome. It's still in America's interest, and it's still Israel's national interest, and it's in the interest of the Palestinian people to resolve that conflict. We remain ready to work to renew negotiations if the leaders demonstrate that they are committed to continuing the negotiations and making the tough decisions necessary for them to succeed. And that's in spite of recent unhelpful actions that both sides have taken that contributed to the recent halt to negotiations. Now, it's safe to say that if the United States is the only party in these negotiations that feels urgency about achieving the outcome, then the negotiations are not going to succeed. And that's why we are now in a period of some pause, reassessing our own efforts as well as discussing with the parties the situation to see how we can best proceed, hopefully with a return to negotiation. By the end of the 9 months of the talks, we had unfortunately found that we had essentially reached the limits of what the United States can do without the parties themselves being ready and willing to make the tough decisions. In the meantime, we're calling on both parties to avoid further provocations. For Israel, this means restraint on settlement, announcements, and construction. It means avoiding punitive measures against the Palestinian Authority. And for Palestinians, it means not trying to accede to additional international treaties or UN agencies, and ensuring that any new government that is formed fully complies to the Quartet principles. In the meantime, we'll continue to work to build trust among the parties and hope that both sides will take measures that would build confidence and not create further tension. And this, we hope, will then lead to continuing on the path of negotiations toward a two-state agreement. The benefits of that outcome are just too important for us to let go of. For Palestinians, a sovereign state, a dignified future. For Israel, a more secure Jewish and democratic homeland, an opportunity to tap into the potential for a strategic alliance and for economic relations with its Arab neighbors. And for all in this region and beyond, an opportunity for a more prosperous, more peaceful, more secure future. As President Obama said in Jerusalem last March, peace has to be made among peoples, not just governments. And for all the difficulties, he reminded his audience that peace is necessary, peace is just, and yes, peace is possible. All of you gathered here are doing important work to make this country, this region, and the world a better, a more peaceful, a more just, and a more shared place. I thank you for your contributions. I want to urge you to press on. Your vision and your endeavors to engage civil society and government leaders are key to shaping and strengthening a shared society in Israel, and you will always have the United States government as your partner in that work. Thank you again. Good evening. Tov, Masal Khair.